Why does a piano keyboard look the way it does? The answer has to do with music modes. The modes are types of scales. A scale is simply a specified sequence of intervals from one note to the same note an octave higher. Let's say from A to the next higher A. In order to understand this point, it's useful to know something about how the piano keyboard came to be. The earliest keyboard instruments, before pianos existed, had Now, at that time in Western musical history, music existed in modes. If you played all the keys from A to the next higher A, that would be the AEOLIAN mode, which we call natural minor today. C to C is IONIAN, which we now call major. Let me illustrate. So here are the music modes. If you start on C and play all the white keys to the next C, you'll play what's called the IONIAN mode. We know this as the major mode today as well. Now, if you start on D and play all the white keys to the next D, you'll play what's called the DORIAN mode. E, you'll play Phrygian mode. F to F is Lydian mode. G to G is called MIXOLYDIAN mode. A to A is AEOLIAN mode. And as already mentioned, this is called natural minor as well. And finally, if you start on B and play all the white keys from one B to the next, you'll play what's called LOCRIAN mode. Now, music would be very limited if every time a composer wanted to use, let's say, the Ionian mode, or major, as we call it today, if they were forced to use C as the keynote or the tonic. So that's where the black keys come into play. So if we start on, let's say, G and try to play an Ionian scale, in other words, a major scale, we're fine up until the very end. And this note, this F, is too low. So actually what we need is a note in between F and G. And that's how G, as long as we have this key F sharp in between F and G. Now let's say we want to play in the Ionian mode, or the major mode, but start on F. Now in this case, again, there'd be one note out of place. Let's try it. Just play all the white keys from F to F, which are, I already said, if you just play the white keys, it's called Lydian mode. But if we want to play the Ionian mode, or the major scale starting on F, let's give that a listen. Now, did you hear how So now let's play the F major scale, or the Ionian mode starting on F, using this B flat. And there we go. And now we can play F major thanks to this black key. So now we have two black keys. And it turns out if you want to start on any white key and play white. So it was actually a 19th century invention that what we now call the white keys actually turned white thanks to ivory, and the black keys were black thanks to ebony. But if you look at historical keyboards, then you have actually different colors. They're usually they could actually be reversed. So you might have very dark keys here, and then the modern black keys might actually be lighter. So often you find that in historical pianos. The keyboard as we know it today was in use by the 14th century, and it gradually became a convention. Now today's keyboard has a total of 12 keys within each octave. An octave, let's say from C to C, and we'll get 12 keys before we arrive again at the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then the next one is C again. So today's keyboard has a total of 12 keys within the octave, 7 white keys, and 5 black keys. Now the distance from any one key on a piano to the very next one is a half step. So let's say from here to here, that's a half step. From here to here is a half step. Here to here is a half step. We have to take both the black keys and the white keys into account. So you got to be careful. So if you go from C to D, then that's actually a whole step because we have a key in between. So half step, half step, half step, etc. And now we can get a little bit more detailed with regard to the music modes. Each mode has a pattern of whole steps and half. And then go a whole step, because we skip over this, another whole step, half step, whole, 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 and then a half step. So the pattern for the Ionian mode, or the major mode, is start on a key and then play a whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now let's try the next one. Dorian mode, we'll start on D, is whole, half, whole, whole, now whole, 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 half, whole. So let's do it again. So that's actually C Dorian. Now it's easier if you just remember the pattern from D to D, that's Dorian. So you can do the same now for the Lydian, MIXOLYDIAN, AEOLIAN, and LOCRIAN modes as you wish. So those then are the music lesson.